Dear viewers and listeners, we welcome you back onto our TV channel, refers to as AK Eternal TV. For today, we are going to be discussing on research methodology. Firstly, when we say research is an act of finding, developing new solutions, innovations, while when we say methodology, it refers to as the process, an approach, a technique, a method. So research methodology is simply refers to or defined to as the scientific study of the method of inquiry, the scientific method of trying to find a solution to an existing problem. On the aspect of research methodology, we are going to make emphasis on research reports, which at the undergraduate level we refer it to as projects, in which at the postgraduate level it is refers to as dissertation or thesis. It depends on which level of degree, second or third degree. Now, on the aspect of research reports, we are going to discuss on the 5 chapters that are being used by science students or possibly in the aspect of education. You know, the chapters of a research work depends on the field. There are some certain fields that will require 4 chapters and some will require 5 chapters, while others, especially engineering, will require 6 chapters. For science students, particularly in the medical field, we use 5 chapters, which these 5 chapters are the chapter 1, which is introduction, the chapter 2, which is literature review, the chapter 3, which is research methodology, the chapter 4, which is data analysis and result presentation, and chapter 5 looks at the summary, conclusion, recommendation. Now, our first class for today, we are going to be looking at chapter 1, which at subsequent classes we'll be looking at the other chapters. So chapter 1 is what is referred to as the introduction, and also chapter 1 has about 8 to 9 various subtopics, which are subtopics all under chapter 1, which were expected to all provide information on them. The first one, which is 1.1, is background of the study. The second one, which is 1.2, is statement of the problem. The third one, which is 1.3. Now, we said 1.2 is statement of the problem. 1.3 is purpose of the study or objectives of the study. This 1.3, some look at it as purpose of the study, while others look at it as objectives of the study, while others combine it together to be objectives and aim of the study. So 1.4 is research question. 1.5 is our hypothesis, which basically we go with the null hypothesis. So we said 1.5 is null hypothesis. Now, our 1.6 is takes the significance of the study. Is what significance of the study. 1.7 is scope and delimitation of the study. 1.7 is scope and delimitation of the study. 1.8 is basic assumption. 1.8 is basic assumption, while other researchers add it with the definition of terms to be 1.9. So our 1.9 is what? Definition of what? Of terms. Now, before we move on to the explanation of this part of chapter 1, we are going to give a little background on the characteristics of a research report. All these things I have told you with the 5 chapters, some with 4 chapters, and some with 6 chapters. They are all, or they all contain, or they are all seen as the research report. So they have their characteristics. Which one? We said a research report should be empirical in nature. A research report should be empirical in nature. When we say a research report should be empirical in nature, what we simply refers to or mean is that a research report must contain data. There must be a means whereby data is being collected. Without data collection, it is not referred to as what? A research report. Also, a research report must be free from typographical error. So all typographical error must be avoided, must be cleared, must be removed before the end of the compilation of the research report. A research report, which is the third one, must be free of what? Grammatical error. A research report must be free of what? Grammatical error, which is the third characteristic. So all grammatical errors must be ensured to be corrected before the final compilation of the research work. The fourth one is that a research report must be simple. A research report must be clear. A research report must be in a such that people can easily understand the content. When people go through it, they will easily understand the information that is being attached to the content of the research work. The fifth one is that a research work must be arranged sequentially. It must be arranged such that it starts from chapter 1 with all its content, to chapter 2 with all its content, to chapter 3 with all its content, to chapter 4 with all the content, to chapter 5 with all the content, to chapter 6 with all the content, and possibly end there. So it will not happen whereby you will start your research work with chapter 5. No, it cannot happen. When you do that, you are not making a research report. You are making something different. So a research report must be arranged systematically. It must be arranged serially from this chapter to the other. Because when you look at it, you will discover that it is this chapter that leads to the other one. Chapter 1 leads to chapter 2. Chapter 2 leads to chapter 3. Chapter 3 leads to chapter 4. And chapter 4 leads to what? Chapter 5. That is how a research report looks like. So let's get back to what? To our content of chapter 1, which is the background of the study, which is 1.1. When we said background of the study entails a lot of information that has to do with the research work. It provides a background, it provides a foundation, it provides a layer whereby you will carry out all your research work systemically. You can arrange how your research work will be under this background of the study, whereby you will start with possibly definition of what concept in a paragraph, and it is advised that when you are defining some concept under your background of the study, you should define the concept all in a particular paragraph, not different authors' definition or different authors' concept should be in different paragraphs. No, all your concepts should be in a particular paragraph, whereby you will differentiate them from the authors which you have cited in your research work. So, background of the study also, if it is a topic that will entail etiology, you will also provide a paragraph for what? For etiology. If you are discussing on a prevalence, also you will give a background of what? Of the prevalence of your research work as part of what? The background of the study. That will lead you on to the possible treatment. Also, it will lead you on to the possible or management and some or clinical features. So it is going to give a form of a form of bulk summary of how your research work will look like. So that is the background of the study. So everybody that look through or read through your background of the study will understand the content of your background of the study. When you are doing this, you must ensure that you provide an adequate citation for your background of the study, so that everybody that look through your information will know that or see that information you are using has a particular source which you have gotten your information. So from the background of the study, it is going to lead us on to what? 1.2, which is said as 1.2, which is seen as which our 1.2 is simply refers to as which our 1.2 is simply refers to as the 1.2 is simply refers or seen to as the bag, which is seen as the our 1.2 is seen to as our statement of the problem. Yeah, you know how problem is. When they say a problem, it's a big hunk of things. So you are making a research work, and your research work definitely should be that there is an existing problem or there is an existing situation which you look at it as a problem, which will want to find a lasting solution to this problem. So you will check the problem. Is it on prevalence? If it is on prevalence, you tell us. Maybe your topic is the prevalence of gingivitis among children or among pregnant women in Kaduna or in any part of the state. So your problem here is the existence of gingivitis among pregnant women. So here you will tell us what are the possible researches that has been done on gingivitis. We expect to say it. What does the research they do and the information about the research. Gingivitis as a whole, or pregnancy gingivitis, or gingivitis on pregnant women. So here we are expecting to see literatures that are all about problems. You will tell us which are supposed to be all what in paragraph. So that is that on the statement of problem. Now we are going to move on to what our objective of the study, which is 1.2. Like I told you, some say purpose. When they say purpose, purpose refers to as a reason. Why are you going to make that research? When they say objectives, what is your aim? What is your motive? What motivates you to think of that you need to make a research on that particular topic? Because any topic you are making a research, it should be a topic that you have an interest on it. Don't take any topic that you don't have an interest on it. Take topics that you feel very happy while you are doing the work. Because if you are not happy with your research work, then there is a problem. Because while you are doing it, you will not be happy. And when you are not happy, the topic is going to be boring to you. You will feel eager that you need to finish your research work, and that will not give a better result too. Any topic you are selecting, it should be a topic that you have an interest of, a topic that you like, a topic that you will want to bring a new discovery onto. So now we are going to take it as objective of the study, also as 1.3. And I told you that some authors says no, not objective of the study, but you can write 1.3 objectives and aim of the study. You know, an aim, when we say aim, mostly an aim is one. You make a paragraph of an objective. Like I have given an example of maybe the prevalence of gingivitis among pregnant women in Ikaro local government of Kaduna State. So your objectives can be to determine the prevalence of gingivitis among pregnant women in Ikaro local government of what? Of Kaduna State. While your objectives can be maybe your objectives can be 2, 3, 4, or even 5, or even more than that. It depends on how you want your topic to, or how large your topic is. So, but mostly for undergraduate, they have been advised to use a topic that will require them to just give 3 objectives, because you know, your objectives will determine how your research question is going to look like, and your research question is going to determine how your questionnaire or your instrument for data collection is going to look like. So that's that on the objective. So you give us a hint of how will your research work look like. What are the motives? What are the objectives? What are the things that you will want to achieve at the end of your research? So this will make up all your what? All your objectives of the study, or all your purpose of what? Of the study. Now to 1.4, which is seen as what? Your research question. Your research question. A research question should be what? Should be systematic. A research question should be logical. A research question should be empirical in nature. A research question should be in a form of question. It should look like a question. If it doesn't look like a question, it is not a research question. If it is not systematic, it is not a research question. If it is not logical, it is not a research question. If it is not empirical in nature, it is not also what? A research question. So all your research question must have these characteristics. Now, so that's your research question. So your research question must be in the form of question. And like we said, it is your objectives of the study that will determine how your research will be. So exactly how your objectives are, that is the way your research question will be. But the difference is just that your research question is in the form of question, because that your objectives that you will want to achieve, you can only achieve them by changing them into a form of question. It is only when those questions are answered that you can be able to get your result. So a research question in a form of question which when answered you can be able to be satisfied with your objective. So that's your research question. So your 1.5 is hypothesis. When we say hypothesis, hypothesis is just a guess trying to put a particular solution before actually going into making findings. So it's just an intelligence guess. You are guessing, but not just an ordinary guessing, but guessing in an intelligent way. That is what hypothesis means. And hypothesis, we have different forms of hypothesis, which we said we have the null hypothesis and we have the alternative hypothesis. But most of the times in our research work, we prefer the null hypothesis, which we use it to be in the form of like just guessing your project work, so that at the end of the work you are disbelieving that your item, maybe you are changing it to be false. That is, at the end of your research work, you are going to compare your null hypothesis with the result that you have gotten as your finding. So that is your null hypothesis. It's just an intelligence guess that you do trying to put a particular answer to your research work before actually going into the field to get data. So that's that on your 1.5, which is null hypothesis. But most of the time it's a project which is for undergraduate. We don't mostly use null hypothesis. They jump null hypothesis into the scope and the limitation of the study, which is our 1.6. Our 1.6, to others they look at it just what I said previously, but actually we said our 1.6 is seen as what? The significance of the study. The significance of what? The study. The significance of the study 1.6 tells us about the merit of the study. After the studies has been completed, who are those expected to benefit from the study? Who are those expected to make use of your research work? Who are those to serve as those that are going to benefit directly or indirectly to your research work? Is it government that are going to benefit from it only? Is it private sector that are going to benefit with it only? Is it those that are working civil servants that are going to benefit from your study? Is it medical personnel that are going to benefit from the study? Is it patients that are going to benefit from your study? So here at the significance of the study, you will tell us all those that you anticipate that are waiting for your research work, that you anticipate that when they find or when they come in contact with your research work, it is going to be beneficial for them. So that is our 1.2. So 1.7 we say is seen as what? The scope and delimitation of the study. Scope and delimitation of the study is 1.7. When we say scope, we are referring to as the areas whereby your research work is going to cover. The specific field, the jurisdiction of your research work. Some say jurisdiction of the study, not scope and delimitation. So 1.7, instead of scope and delimitation, they say no, jurisdiction of the study, because it's going to provide the boundaries whereby your research work has discovered that your research work will cover, maybe due to financial situations, or maybe due to problem of time, or maybe due to problem of other factors. You cannot be able to access other possible areas that you are anticipated to cover. So you will tell us what is your particular scope of the study, what are the limitations of the study, what are the things that people will think, those that will benefit from the study that they will anticipate, and at the end of the day they will not come to realize what they might have seen in the study. Now, our 1.8, like I've said, is going to be basic assumption. Basic assumption is just some assumption before going into it is just like a similar way of saying, how will your research work look like at the end of the work? What is going to be the looks of your research work after you are finished? How will your research work look like? That is what we are trying to look at. Now, our 1.9 is what? Definition of terms. The terms that you have expected to use at your studies, or the terms that you have used in the studies. So you will tell us what are those terms. And you will attach, each and every term must be attached with a citation, telling us where you have gotten your definition, because we expect that students are not authorities. So every piece of work they have done should be gotten from a particular means or from a particular source. So all this use of references and citation, it is all targeted towards the reduction of the rate of plagiarism. among students or among professionals. So this is just our research work, chapter 1. And in a summary form, like we have said, for those students that are going on to project work, which they will basically need their chapter 1, like we have said, is introduction. 1.1 is going to be the background of the study. 1.2 is going to be statement of the problem. 1.3 is going to be objectives or purpose of the study. 1.4 is going to be research work. 1.5 is significance of the study. 1.6 is scope and delimitation of the study or jurisdiction of the study. And 1.7 is seen as what? Definition of terms. Thank you for listening. Our next class is going to be on chapter 2, which is seen as what? Literature review. Thank you very much.